Hundreds of companies, including BlackRock and Burberry, say they'll come clean about climate change, signing up to a disclosure campaign led by Michael Bloomberg and the Governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney. New signatories were revealed in Paris today. The French president's hosting world leaders 2 years since the landmark Paris Agreement was signed. Melissa Bell is our correspondent. She joins us from Paris tonight. What is the purpose of this Paris summit, bearing in mind the Paris deal has been signed and the US isn't involved?
The Paris deal has been signed 2 years ago today. And of course, since then, as you say, Richard, so much has happened, so much to bring into doubt, that might have brought into doubt the fact that the world was likely to meet these very ambitious targets that were fixed here 2 years ago. And the message of today, Emmanuel Macron clearly wanting to keep the momentum up. He's really invested a lot of political capital into keeping the Paris Accord alive. But more than that, this was really about saying that it isn't just about what heads of state have to say. It isn't just about the commitments of countries, it is about the commitments of individuals. It is about business and business understanding that the future is green and that they have every incentive really to try and seek it out themselves. It was also about a series of financial commitments. It is all about the money, Richard, and trying to find the money that is needed to meet those ambitious targets. Now, Emmanuel Macron believes it still can be done, and he told his audience today that although the American president hadn't been invited to this summit, he was delighted to see a large American delegation, and it was fairly eclectic. There were a number of actors, Leonardo DiCaprio, Arnold Schwarzenegger, but also the mayor of New York, the former Secretary of State, John Kerry, all there to say, look, the American administration may have pulled out, but we believe that this still can be done. Have a listen to what the former mayor of New York had to tell us a short while ago.
It's embarrassing for the country, and I wish he hadn't done that, and I hope that one of these days he looks at the evidence and changes his mind, and there's nothing wrong with people changing their mind. You'll make fun of them, but I think it's a sign of a mature, intelligent person that when the facts they have at their command change, they reevaluate and change the decisions. But the truth of the matter is climate change in America has little to do with the federal government. The effects are there today of a warming Earth. In fact, 16 out of the last 17 warmest years in the history of the world, since we've been keeping records, have been since the year 2000.
It's extraordinary. And given all that, it seems extraordinary that the decision was made by Donald Trump. Is there any chance?
Well, because Donald Trump has not been watching your television, and if he was watching CNN and watching your reporting, I'm confident he would have made a different decision.
Absolutely. No question about that. But Melissa, yeah, I watched today and I wondered, I saw the great and the good and I heard the speeches, but I wondered where it's going. I mean, this is a time to get on with it rather than just make more promises and high-sounding noises.
It is a time to get on with it. And from the very start, the French authorities had said, look, the idea of today is not just words, it is not just declarations, we want firm commitments. In fact, the only heads of state and government who are allowed to speak today, and this is most unusual, Richard, were those who were actually making pledges. And a series of commitments were published today by the French government, 12 in all, and they each included a number of different measures that concretely, they say, will bring us closer to finding the money that is still lacking. And you're right, we are still a long way from achieving what needs to be achieved. Emmanuel Macron put it very plainly. He said, look, we are losing the battle against climate change. But it wasn't just about that. It wasn't just about the sorts of warnings that we've heard for so many years. This was really about getting many different actors together and saying, look, it is in your financial interest to make that transition now, to start looking towards all the possibilities that the green revolution has to offer your companies. It is about your money and your profits, not simply about making the world a better place.